And in politics, we call them cavers, right? Which is the citizen against virtually everything, right? On the internet, we call them trolls, right? But they are people that don't bring ideas; they just bring complaints. Right? And you do. And in fact, when does that come up in your business? Twitter's not a real place, right? And what people say there really doesn't impact the opinions of decision makers, right? The thing that is most important is a phone call. Set up a meeting, right? Show up to where they are. Inform yourself. Get reliable information. And way too often, we're just believing the first thing we read, right? And so to anybody out there, I think, who's got a message, whether that message is a positive message or a message of anger and a message of protest, keep it classy, right? And I was like, yeah, I get it, but my goodness, it's like, how about we say there's problems we need to fix, and also we're awesome and we deserve amazing things. A little optimism wouldn't kill us. In fact, it just might actually help, right?
Yeah.
Stormlex Law Group is our principal sponsor for this podcast. It is a full-service law firm dedicated to representing property owners, homeowners, and owners of commercial property, institutional property, whenever they need to challenge a denial of insurance coverage in the face of storms or catastrophes. Stormlex.com. Thank you, Stormlex, for sponsoring this show, and thank you to all of our other sponsors for believing in Guayabera Conversations.
In this episode of Guayabera Conversations, we talk to Stephanie Reyes, the CEO of the Real Estate Council of San Antonio, and we talk to Richard Perez, the CEO of the Medical Foundation in charge of the Medical Center in San Antonio. Richard Perez, a former city councilman and a stand-up comedian. Not kidding. He actually appeared at a comedy club to do stand-up comedy. We talk about collaboration, consensus building, leadership, but also why real estate development matters and all the good things that are happening in San Antonio because of the medical center's success. Join us. You're going to have a great time. Friends, welcome back to another conversation, a Guayabera conversation. And this is a collaboration between myself, your friend Manny Ellas, and our friends at Chatterbox Studios. And today I've got some people I admire a lot. My co-host today is Stephanie Reyes, the CEO of the Real Estate Council of San Antonio.
That's right.
Yeah. And you know our guest
I do.
Very well because you used to work for him.
My favorite boss.
Who is this guy?
Okay, let me tell you. So, former city councilman for District 4, former San Antonio Chamber president and CEO, an all-around great guy, great dancer.
Thank you.
And my favorite boss ever, Richard Perez.
Yay. Hello there.
Man.
Well, thank you.
So,
Thank you, Stephen.
it's called
Manny's great.
Guayabera Conversations. Tell us about this Guayabera because I've never seen one as unique as this. I love it.
Well, so there is a cool shop right almost at the corner of Houston and Broadway, so right downtown. It's called Divide and Conquer. It's owned by a fellow named, his last name is Trevino, Javier Trevino.
Okay.
And he started the shop about 3 years ago. It's a nice little storefront there, and he creates these unique guayaberas. I don't know if you saw the back, but my wife is into bird watching.
Oh, wow. Oh, I hadn't seen
got
the
this one.
back.
Yes. So I got this one in her honor because she loves bird watching, and she actually went with me and picked it out.
Divide and Conquer.
Divide and
That's a
Conquer.
beautiful shirt.
Javier Trevino, right at the corner of Houston and Broadway.
Now tell me about yours. How long have you had that one?
About 2 days.
Really? Where'd you get yours?
When you told me to go get one.
Where'd you get yours?
Mine's from the Fiesta store.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
In my Aggie maroon, of course.
Nice.
So,
And mine is from our friends at Penner's,
Yay.
which is your go-to Guayabera store.
Right.
Okay, Richard, today, Stephanie and I have agreed that what we're going to do is we're just going to have a conversation among friends.
Wonderful.
We're going to try to stick to some themes here, leadership, right? Having thick skin, building consensus, collaborating, but also, we want to kind of delve deep into what you're doing. And we're also going to delve deep into what Stephanie's doing and why a person who's an expert in real estate and advocates for the real estate community has a direct line and has a relationship to what you do at the Medical Foundation, right? So let's start off with, first of all, we have a need to explain that Richard and I are former elected officials,
That's right.
right? And Richard, you and I you served for how many years?
I served for two 2-year terms at the time. That was the max you could serve at
Do
the
you
time.
miss it?
I used to when I first got off, but then when I jumped into the chamber job, it was like being an elected official times 2. So it was actually time for a break after 15 years. 4 as a council member, 15 at the chamber. It was time to get something a little more quiet and slow.
Did you know him when he was on city council?
I didn't. I wasn't here yet, but I've heard, and I want to know, why were you a better councilman than Manny?
Well, you said it yourself. It's the dancing.
It is. I think that's what it is.
And by
Gotta
the
be.
way, thank you, Steph. That was a huge ego boost when you said I'm a good dancer. Yes, I'll take it.
Hey, so
Be a charmer.
the first time I ever actually got to see Richard on city council, I showed up because I had a client, because I'm a lawyer, I couldn't get into med school, so I had a client that was doing something at city hall, and I showed up to city hall a little early, and Richard is scolding all of his fellow colleagues on the dais and talking to city staff because they were buying city council was buying a bobcat, those little skid steers, right? And Richard's up there and he goes, "Well, colleagues, this bucket costs too much, and this attachment costs too much, and let me tell you, I think this attachment costs too much." And I was sitting there, I was like, "Bro, it's like $1.5 billion budget, and you're arguing with these folks over $30,000 buckets and parts for a skid steer." And I elbowed somebody who was with me. I was like, "What's him? Does he usually like get down in the weeds and get this excited about skid steers?" And they looked at me and they're like, "Don't you know what he does for a living?" And I was like, "No, what does he do for a living? What were you doing?"
I was a landscaper. My family owns a landscaping business still to this day that my folks started when I was a child. And so I grew up in that business. And prior to becoming an elected official, when I moved back to San Antonio, I was working in Fairway Landscape and Nursery as the vice president of business development. So that's why I knew that
But
kind
then
of stuff.
city council and then Chamber of Commerce.
Correct.
And then from Chamber of Commerce to the Medical Center Fund.
Yeah, that's right. San Antonio Medical
Do you
Foundation.
miss the
yes.
landscaping stuff?
Not as much as the council, and even that I don't miss because the 100-degree weather makes it very easy to not miss it.
Did you win that bobcat skid steer fight that day?
I don't even remember.
But it was the biggest deal to you ever, right?
Well,
At that one moment.
I used to pull so many items from the agenda, and it was all about transparency, right? And that was what I was really looking for when I was doing those
Yeah.
things.
You want to talk leadership?
Sure, but I just have to say, do you remember? So we would have to go during the legislative session because I was VP of policy
At the chamber.
at the chamber
Yeah.
back in my day. And we came back from Austin and he's dropping me off at my house. And he was in landscaping, right? So I'm like, "Richard, can you, I've been
Oh my
looking,
God.
I've been looking to put stuff in. Can you give me some suggestions?" He's like, "Well, you could do
It
some
never
shelving."
stops. It never stops.
Always a landscaper,
That's
right?
Why not? He was there.
Now, seriously, I mean, you've got, in your foundation, you're in charge of a lot of real estate acreage. Are you looking at it also from a landscaper perspective? I mean, did you bring that to the job?
Oddly enough, yes. Because one of the things that we have to do, of course, is those properties that we still own and control. Most of them are wooded. And so, we have a walking trail, that 2.5-mile walking
Yeah, it's a
trail
cool
for the citizens. And so we want to make sure that the trees are not, leaning over and potentially falling on somebody, making sure the grass is cut because of snakes. I mean, it is a big part of, well, maybe big is not the right word, but it is a part of my everyday job for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Richard Perez is chasing the snakes out of the medical center.
I don't have a
You're in
flute. I need a
charge. You're in
flute.
charge.
So during your time on city council, was there one particular initiative, something big that you were so passionate about that you led?
I guess more as a citywide thing, it was the hiring of the city manager, Cheryl Scully, at the time.
I'm glad you said that. I just recently reread, actually, it's a great short read, Cheryl Scully's Greedy Bastard.
Yes.
That's the title of the book.
That
Greedy
is, I'm not
Bastards.
cussing.
Okay.
That's the name of the book, the title of the book, and you're in it
Yes.
because you played a really important role in getting Cheryl here. Tell us about it.
Well, so Mayor Hardberger, Phil Hardberger, had just gotten elected.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was a strong collaborator with him, and we saw that we needed a change at the city management level.
Okay.
And we had tried to hire Cheryl back when Edgarza was the mayor, and she couldn't come because we didn't get a unanimous vote. She wasn't going to leave a job she'd been at for 20 plus years to come for a split vote. So Phil decided to give it a shot, and he asked me to head the initiative to bring Cheryl to San Antonio. And so I was behind the scenes calling her and setting up meetings with her, bringing her to San Antonio.
And she was in Tucson at the time, or was
No,
it
she was in Phoenix. She was in
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Okay.
She was the deputy city manager of Phoenix, the anointed one, if you will, to become the city manager of Phoenix, which was her goal. But oddly enough, the way things happened, the fellow that had been the city manager who had said he was going to retire decided wasn't going to retire, and they extended his contract for 2, 3, or 4 years, whatever
Okay.
it was. And that's when she saw the writing on the wall and said, "I'm never going to be city manager of this city, so I better move on." And we were looking, and so then things just happened, and we brought her here. But I was the liaison, if you will, between the city of San Antonio and the elected officials in particular, and Cheryl Scully.
Did anybody push back?
There was some. There was a couple of colleagues that were concerned with her salary. I think we paid her $320 at the time,
Yeah.
something just to bring her here. And of course, as you know, in the city management business, you have an out clause. So if you get fired, you get some kind of severance, et cetera. And it was the largest package to that point. And so a couple of my colleagues were just besides themselves because it was so much higher than the median income in the districts that they represented, right? But we were able to, over time, through a little bit of convincing and begging, to get them to see the light. And
So, your work on city council and on all of your work, and Stephanie, and your work as well, we frequently bump up against people who are just against, right? And in politics, we call them cavers, right? Which is the citizen against virtually everything, right? And on the internet, we call them trolls, right? But they are people that don't bring ideas; they just bring complaints, right? And you deal. And in fact, when does that come up in your business?
Every day. Every day.
for a quick answer,
I'm really passionate about the work that we do. I always say this, it's the best job to be able to drive by something that you played a small part in, right? And something that was 20 years in the making finally came to fruition. You see people enjoying it, whether it be housing or a new retail facility, whatever, a mixed use area. And you see all these people and you realize, and you take a lot of pride in the fact that you played a very small role in that. But a lot of people will often think, oh, you guys are just big, bad, greedy developers. You just care about the profit. You're not really doing much for the community. And that is farthest from the truth. Our members are really passionate about housing, creating communities, beautifying neighborhoods, revitalization, all of those things we're really passionate about. And so education is what helps us. For example, our most effective advocacy tool, and I think we've done it for you before,
Yeah.
is kind of the development life cycle from concept to closing, right? What it takes when a developer has a passion and a thought and is willing to take that risk to invest in a property, and all the speed bumps that he has to go through, or he or she has to go through along the way, and everyone who's involved at what stage, how much investment has gone in at one stage, and how some of the regulation at the city or SAWS or CPS or SARA or TxDOT can delay a project, which increases the cost to a project. And I think what really resonates with folks when we use this tool is at the end of the day, it's the end user, right?
So REXA, right, is the Real Estate Council of San Antonio. And so you've mentioned the word developer a few times, but my understanding is that your group is not just about the developers, but you guys are touching on why builders are important, and you're advocating for realtors, and you're advocating for, everybody and anybody who is involved in getting a building built, acquiring and selling a property. Um, that's a I think a pretty misunderstood sector of the economy, right? And what I learned, and Richard, right, is that there's a lot of people out there who, just because they have a Facebook account and Wikipedia, they're experts overnight. So
Yes.
after COVID, everybody's an epidemiologist. If you get a driver's license in a car, you're an expert on, engineering roads and construction, right? Everybody today is an expert on Russian, Israeli, Gaza, right, relationships.
Yes.
But as it relates to real estate, everybody thinks they know. So, talking about the trolls, the cavers, and the naysayers, where are you encountering the most pushback today?
Um, it's at every regulatory agency, right? So, you'll have some regulators who feel development should pay for itself 100%. But there's a lot of risk that goes into projects, right? I think in my mind, and this goes back to Cheryl Scully, and it was before my time, but my understanding is one of the best things that Cheryl Scully did was she changed the mindset of the city from regulator to facilitator. So it's the mindset
Yeah.
of how can we work together to better the community. And development services is amazing. They work to do just that. Working on some of the other regulatory agencies to change their mindset to feel the same way, because we can't do it alone. We need to take advantage of the economic tools that the city might have, or if it comes to impact fees, those can get pretty high. Can we talk about flexibility there? All of those things come into play. And I think the community who is not quite in the know about how these things work will often criticize.
Speaking of community criticism, you and I, as elected officials, used to have to be in direct contact with neighbors. They don't want an apartment next to them. They don't want another neighborhood next. My district, for example, people on the far north side believe, really, I'm not kidding, they believe, because some realtors told them, that they not only own their home and their backyard, but they own the view from here to Bernie. And so whenever anything gets developed north of them, they get so upset. And I hear often, I hate these real estate developers. Developers are evil. And I'm just like my kids say, bro, you literally live in a home in a neighborhood that was developed, right?
That's
And the
right.
people south of you hate your guts because you live, now you are impeding their view from here to Bernie. Did you have to encounter that? Because you were a South Side. How did that play out? This antipathy or this animosity towards the real estate industry?
Well, interesting enough, unfortunately, at the time, there wasn't a lot of development in District 4 in
Yeah.
my area. I think the biggest development that we could say was Palo Alto College, part of the Alamo Community Colleges district, and Texas A&M. But they were so kind of far away from everything that they didn't really impede or affect things in a negative way. It was actually a great thing. People say, yeah, we want that development. What we're feeling it is today now because all those um, basically woods are now filling up.
Yeah.
And so traffic is getting bad. The queuing at lights is getting really bad. Crime is picking up a little bit because of this. Accidents, all the things, the ancillary things that happen are happening now. And so I'm just glad I'm not the city councilman for District 4 right now.
Well, and the thing is what he's talking about is not just happening in District 4, which is down by Palo Alto, the Toyota campus, all that,
Yep,
but
that's
it's equally challenging at the medical center,
Oh,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Accidents, traffic, road construction, right? Traffic jams that because of little schools on Hamilton Wolf,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
This is
yes.
now a headache for a lot of people. When the medical center was this sleepy, cool, slow place with a few hospitals, everybody, was like, yeah, let's go to the medical center. And now it's something you got to plan for,
That's
right?
right.
And being the city councilman, as of for the last 8 years for that district, we had a lot of people who were upset at the medical center.
Mm.
Every time we, added a hospital, every time there was a new facility, some of the surrounding neighborhoods were like, I can't believe it. You're adding more things and we don't need more buildings. And, what's going on here? And I was like, hey, man, like literally you live in an apartment complex called, right? Whatever, the Caroline at the medical center. What did you think was going to happen
Yeah.
when you moved in, right? You're going to see hospitals and clinics. So and I included a question here. I think the cavers and the trolls and the naysayers could use some tips, right? I spent a lot of time reading the mean tweets, right, with my kids because I want them to get used to, you know, really seeing them from the right perspective, which is like these are silly and they really shouldn't be taken. Mean tweets shouldn't be taken too seriously. If you had to give advice to a young person, right, out there, and if that young person felt compelled to speak up against something that is bothering them, that they feel strongly about, what advice can you give that person so that they don't become an annoying troll or caver, but instead become a little bit more effective in
Well, I would start, Steph, and certainly you have some of these too, is start with what is true and right.
Mhm.
Because many times these young people, or anybody for that matter, they read something on social media and that is now real.
It's fact.
And that's right, and it's bad. And generally, for the most part, if they tell you, hey, I saw this on social media, it's 30% accurate, if that,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so my first point would be, go get the facts. Go to the source, find out what it is that you're upset about, and understand it better than just counting on a tweet or something that you saw on Facebook.
Yeah. Educate yourself for sure.
Yes.
Social media is not the best source of accurate information. Go to a city hall meeting.
Yeah.
Go to a SAWS board meeting, a CPS board meeting.
They're all open to the public.
Yeah. Join Rexa.
Yeah.
You know?
And even with things that aren't city related, right? Like actually pick up the phone and call the person
Right.
you're unhappy about and ask them, why are you doing this? You might discover that social media's got it all wrong, right? The one thing I tell my kids, and is Twitter's not a real place, right? And what people say there really doesn't impact the opinions of decision makers, right? The thing that is most important is a phone call.
Mm.
Set up a meeting, right? Show up to where they are. Inform yourself, get reliable information. And way too often we are we're just believing the first thing we read,
Mhm.
right? And so to anybody out there, I think who's got a message, whether that message is a positive message or a message of anger and a message of protest, keep it classy,
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep it
right?
classy there.
Yeah. And so, are you now that I've brought up the trolls and the cavers, do you miss city council at all? Now that I'm reminding you that they're out there.
I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life being an elected official,
Yeah.
right? But I don't miss it because I've got another thing that I'm doing now as president of the San Antonio Medical Foundation, and that is just as fulfilling and exciting as it was when I was younger, much younger, and being on the city council. Because I'm older, and now my interests lie in a different place, and my ability to affect change is different, and it's just as good now as it was back then. So I'm enjoying it immensely.
Yeah.
I have a question for both you guys because
Okay.
you've served. What advice would you give to someone who's interested and passionate about serving on San Antonio City Council?
Yeah. Richard.
I would say I would start by why is it that you're interested and passionate about doing it? What is it that's driving you? And make sure that what that driver is something that you can actually do, right? Um, Being on the city council, you can affect change, but it is a process that's difficult and cumbersome and involves a lot of people's input. So if you're a dictator and you want to be able to affect change and coming from a dictator mindset, that is not the place for you to. So that's what I would say.
I it took me 8 years to come to the real that if you're doing it for the wrong reason, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to disappoint people.
Mm,
And you got to check yourself. Right before you even throw your hat in the ring on something like that, ask yourself, why am I doing this?
mm,
Run it by people, and say, this is why I'm thinking of doing this. And this last election cycle, and I see people running for federal office, state and local office, and quite often I don't hear that answer. Like, why are you doing
mhm,
this, right? And there were some people that were running, and thankfully they didn't win, who were just like, well, let me tell you all the things that are broken at City Hall.
Mhm.
Great, government is broken, and it's been broken since since time immemorial, right? Since there was the first governments. Why are you doing this? Well, because it's bad, because it's horrible. Why are you doing it? And there's only one answer. I want to help.
yep.
I want to fix, right? I want to bring new ideas. And if you can't answer that question with either of those three things, go do something else, succeed at something else, right? The other thing, too, is there's a lot of people out there that just want to be in positions of power,
Mhm.
right? And I'll tell you, there is nothing powerful about city council. It is a slow
Yeah.
grind, right? And you realize that the institution is so much bigger than you, right? And you make these promises and you come in with these grand ideas, but you realize that, you know, almost every single day you're overwhelmed with the potholes, the stray dogs,
Yes.
somebody's water not turning on. And it's really hard with 2 year, even 4 year terms to, fundamentally change. And so really keep it in perspective, do it for the right reasons, and then ask yourself lots of questions like, okay, well, give me all the reasons why I shouldn't do it. Is there somebody better out there who I should get behind?
Mm,
And I wish more people did that, right? Like
sure.
say, okay, you know what? That person's got better ideas. I'm not going to be a city council, not going to be the head of a new non. It's going to get behind
Mm.
other
Mhm.
people who may be leading better. And that kind of humility is hard,
It's
right?
very difficult. And it's a hard question for you to answer if your heart is not really in the right place, right? Because you will answer, oh, yes, I'm the perfect person. But you need to make sure that while you're doing it makes sense for you, for your family, for the community. Because ultimately, you could fail miserably. Because 4 years now, these terms is a long time.
Yeah.
And you're going to be there for that long.
But I gotta admit, it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's some moments where it's just really, really fun. And I got in trouble with the newspaper
Oh.
the last year, right? Because 8 years ago, Richard Perez on the night of the inauguration. I'm a brand new baby city council member, bright-eyed, bushy tail. He comes up to me and he says, "Hey man, just remember, this is the closest thing to royalty you're ever going to get to San Antonio. And you're going to be surrounded by people who tell you, you're right. You're so smart. You're so cool." Right. Take it in stride and
Was he
bring some
right?
of that perspective. He's 100% right. I mean, you could say the dumbest thing as a city council people, and there's like on any given day, there's people who are like, "That was so smart, council." And you're like, "No, it wasn't. That was the dumbest thing I've ever said." Right. But you're tempted to believe it. So anyway, so I repeated that line about a year ago, and I said, "This is the closest thing to royalty." And the newspaper wrote me up and was like, "Pelaez thinks that he's royalty."
Yeah.
I was like, "Come on."
And that's where
Right.
you take it out of context,
Yeah.
right? And the goal was to be able to understand and be, have humility and you
Yeah.
serve because people hold you in such high esteem as an elected official. You belong to them.
Yeah.
And they want you to be successful in this. So they tell you how much they love you and all that, but you cannot let that go to your head. You need to humility needs to be the basis of where you start.
Yeah, but so does thick skin. Right.
Yes.
And so, you know what I tell young people also? Don't listen to, right? Because you listen too hard to the people that say you can't, you shouldn't, you never will,
That's a good
right?
point.
You're wrong. That's toxic. And, that there's always going to be an excuse for not doing something brave or courageous or important. And so, to be honest with you, I haven't looked at social.
Stay out of the
I
comments.
just stay out of the comment section. And I just, the people whose comments matter the most to me are my kids, my mother-in-law. I'm like, "Hey, is this the right thing to do?" Yeah, it feels good. It's ethical. It's moral. It's going to help people. Then let's do that, right?
That's right.
And we are so primed to listen to everybody except for ourselves,
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
right? And
That's true.
so anyway, I really am. I think that's the new advice. Don't listen too hard. And it's the opposite advice of what we get from all these leadership coaches, which is listen a lot, listen to everything, listen. And I'm like, sometimes you don't listen. Sometimes you got to decide, right?
What
Well,
about yours? Sorry.
My what?
Your most passionate, proud initiative.
Yeah. God, you guys go to restaurants or the gym or nail salons. I've seen you at the nail salon. And you guys see those little purple and white stickers on the mirrors now
yes,
that
I have
used to
seen
not
them.
exist. And you and I had talked about
Airport?
these at the airport, and they say, you're not alone. If you're a victim of domestic violence,
Mhm.
here's a hotline. There's so many people who called me, said, "Don't do this. This is horrible. I can't believe you're doing this," right? And there was the number of people who called and said this is a good idea eclipses that number of naysayers. But the naysayers were some important people here in town, and you'd be shocked, or maybe you would be, to know that, some of them were big business owners, some P's of big companies, and they're like, "This is annoying. I don't want these negative messages near me. This really isn't a problem in San Antonio. Who cares about violence? This is my restaurant. This is my convenience store. I don't want this." And it
Mhm.
took a lot to bring some of
I
those
remember.
on
Mm.
board, and took a lot just to finally say, "You know what? They're right, and I'm right on this, and we're going to put those stickers up." You know what happened? The world didn't come crumbling
Right.
down, and
Right.
we're all okay. Everybody uses the restroom, and yet one thing that we don't talk too much about happened: the phone rings off the hook now
Does it?
at our domestic violence shelter because people saw that sticker.
So,
It worked, right? And all we wanted was for there to be a safe space for victims of domestic violence away from their abuser to say, "Oh my gosh, look, there is a number. Somebody's speaking to me," and to call, right? And so think about it, right? I mean, a $4 billion budget. We're arguing about Project Marvel and airports and what to do about Trump and Greg Abbott. And for me, my number one accomplishment was seeing the phone ring at these hotlines more frequently than before, simply because we put action out. I probably will never get mentioned in Greedy Bastard Part 2, the sequel, right?
The greedier bastard.
But my grandkids and my great grandkids, that'll probably be the story I'll tell. I won't remember all the
Yeah.
zoning cases and pothole cases and the big real estate developments. I'll remember that, right? And so I guess the lesson is sometimes it's the little things that matter,
Yeah.
right? More than anything else, right? And to me, a sticker is a little thing. I get it, but it will likely end up saving lives,
Oh, no
right?
doubt.
And so the little things can be really, really
And the
Yeah.
cost?
Yeah.
This much.
nominal,
Yeah.
right? Nominal. And
Nothing.
I mean, I had a restaurant owner who called me. "This is a problem in Corpus Christi and Laredo. It's not a problem in San Antonio." I was like, "Hey man, 1 out of 3 women who frequent your restaurant right, are victims of domestic violence. What are you talking about, right? And he just would not cave to logic and facts. And that's it. I guess that's the message: is that there's people out there that are just permanently allergic to logic and facts, and you still got to figure out a way to do the right thing, even if it means you don't get their
Right.
or their collaborate.
Yeah.
We're glad you
And
did it. We're glad
when
you
we
did
had
it.
that conversation, it was hard to communicate some of our members' reservations
Yeah.
on sizing and that kind of thing. But you very clearly said, "Oh, they don't care about women being, battered," and and the way you put it, just put it in such a way, like, God,
How can you say
how could
no?
you say no
Yes,
to
right.
that,
Yeah,
right?
course.
yeah. And believe it or not, we had women that said no, right? Who just said, "This is a terrible idea. I don't want this message in a building. I own a building. I don't want people to think about ugly things when they're in my building." And I'm like, "Come on, give me a break," right? I mean, it literally says employees have to wash your hands before you get back to work. You can't. You can put up a message that says, "If you're a victim of domestic violence, call us."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you had questions about collaboration.
Yes. So let me ask you, Manny, or Richard, let me ask you. The
Okay.
medical center is a city within a city,
Mhm.
right? Would you say? Would you agree?
Yep, for sure.
How do you navigate the complex web of stakeholders?
Well, it's not as complex because pretty much the medical center is almost built out, right? We have about 170 acres left that is for development. The rest of it is pretty much filled in, right? So all those battles kind of happened already. If you so they're history now, and now what's happened is that the medical center is the place for cutting edge um, healthcare, education. If you're going to be any kind of doctor through UT Health San Antonio, um, research. UT Health is also doing some incredible research, and now that they've combined with UTSA, that's going to, they're going to double down on that area. And then you have all the hospital systems, University Hospital System, Methodist, Baptist. Um, I mean, some really interesting things are happening there, and people are getting cured every day from terrible diseases that are affecting their lives. You have the Texas Organ Sharing Alliance there for people that are looking for organs. They're sitting on some property that we own, long-term lease. The Hope Lodge, which is an arm of the American Cancer Society, so that once this gets built, if you have to come to the medical center for cancer treatment, you can stay there for free for as long as it takes with your family. That's being constructed right now on property that we own. So the projects that are coming now are easy projects, if you
Mhm.
will, and are so necessary given all of the good things that are happening in the medical center. But there's still need, there's still poverty, there's still heartache and sorrow. And so these are opportunities for people to try to get through this difficult time in their lives or their families' lives, um, and still survive and not be completely bankrupt because you had a cancer or
Yeah.
a terrible
So, but
occurrence in your life.
but to drill down on the collaboration or the stakeholder question, I mean, it's going to be the heads of hospitals,
Mhm.
right? It's going to be the
Yeah.
doctors. It's going to be the real estate and players in that area, the city, the county, the ambulance companies, and all that. But then you've got like these groups that like nobody realizes. The Pakistani Physicians
Yes.
Association, right? The Indian Doctors Association. Like one out of every seven medical students is Indian or South Asian, right?
It's incredible.
You have the nurses groups,
Mhm.
right? You've got patients, advocacy. You've got housing. You got nutrition. I mean, your foundation is literally touching the lives and work of people that you probably never thought you'd have to touch, right? And coming into this gig,
It's
right?
true. We have a couple of grant programs. One is called the Collaborative Grant Program that we've been running since 2016. We've been able to give out about $6.8 million since then. And these are for grants, collaboration between not for profit entities, educational entities, hospitals, to be able to come together and work together as colleagues to solve basic issues, basic problems of healthcare, device development, et cetera. That's going very, very well. And we do about another $250,000 annually of community grants for example, ThriveWell. ThriveWell is a not-for-profit that came together to help people with cancer that are struggling with cancer. In particular, we're trying to focus on a grant that helps pick up people from the South east and west sides of the city and bring them to the medical center
Yeah.
for the treatments and then take them back.
Nice.
Little things
cool.
like that. But in this city, the seventh largest city in the nation, that is still a challenge for people.
Sure.
And so little things like that that are helping improve lives and giving people hope is what we're all about. And so it is a
I
beautiful
read
thing.
somewhere that because of our poverty problem we have in San Antonio, there's people who literally have a difficult time choosing to go see their life-saving doctor because they can't get a ride to the medical center,
Right.
right? Or because they know they're going to have to pay for parking and they just don't know how to get there, right? And I don't think you thought, I mean, I really don't think you thought that this would be problems you'd be having to solve when you first joined this. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
feeling that you thought maybe it was just managing the medical center, bringing in economic investment,
That's right.
and that your list of collaborators was this big, but in fact now, after years of serving there, your list of
That's exactly right, Manny. Never did I realize the impact that this organization has on people's lives and how much fun it is to be, able
Yeah.
to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's exciting and it's impactful work. Again, I don't miss the council because I'm doing it, but in another way now today.
Do you miss the chamber?
That too. That was a the challenge with the chamber job, and you certainly know this, Steph. As the CEO, that is a 60-hour a week job.
Mm.
I mean, there's no shortage of emergencies, and so I have now a 45-hour a week job, and so it
Yeah.
gives me time to unwind. I'm a little bit older now, so I'm not as fast as I used to be. So I mean, the timing was just perfect for me to retire from the chamber, and then for this opportunity to come up, and
Do
it's
you
been
miss the
great.
chamber?
Chamber was fun.
Yeah.
I gotta say, let me tell you really quickly. So I'm not from here. I'm from the Valley,
Okay.
right? It's been 10 years now.
I recruited her from
Yes,
Alabama.
yes. He sold me. But I didn't know one person
Yeah.
in San Antonio, and we made a family decision to move. And there's no better job than the chamber if you're moving to a city where you don't know anyone or anything.
Yeah.
And then the position I had, VP of policy, it was my job to know the who's who and the what's what, and
She
know
was
the entire.
fantastic at it, by the way. With no context of San Antonio other than being a big city, she got in and killed it immediately and is still doing that today. Very proud of her.
Well, I had a great mentor. I really did. And I have to tell you, you and my family loves you. My daughter still asks me about you.
Richard.
Theo Richard, all that. My dad, when's Richard going to take me to the Spurs?
Wow.
No, if you're just good people, right? And you're very passionate, and you were very well respected in the community, and you were a great boss, and it shined through every day. And you were a mentor. And I probably never said this to you, but I'm telling you today, you were a great mentor to me, and I take a lot of that into what I do today.
Excellent. Excellent.
He was a
So,
fantastic boss.
thank you.
Can I,
sir.
I will stop here and say something. You have, Richard, an infectious laugh, right? It's the one thing, Richard's in the building because you have a very unique laugh. And these jobs that we have, right? These sort of pinnacle leadership jobs, they don't call it work for nothing, right?
That's right.
And that Richard was able to lead with a sense of humor and lead with, ebullience and gregariousness.
Thank you.
High SAT verbal word. The I don't know how you do it, man. And because you dealt with some really heavy stuff, right? And you did too. I mean, the chamber, you guys, lived through COVID for God's sake.
Oh,
And you guys,
absolutely.
Hurricane Harveys and the 2000,
Katrina.
the
Katrina.
2000, was it the 2008 economic downturn? You were on city council then. I mean, how do you keep it together? I mean, I know that's not on the outline, but I mean, how do you smile at the end of the day after dealing with some pretty horrible stuff?
Well, I think you come in with that again, that heart to serve, right? As an elected official, or as a chamber president, or as the president of the medical foundation, you know that you have skills and you can put them to use and to help people and improve their lives. And then you surround yourself with friends like you, Manny, and colleagues and employees like Stephanie that are just as committed as you are and have a big, bold heart and a big vision for the community and want to
Yeah.
help. And that just it drives you to be successful because you surround yourself with successful people that are smart and that care just as much as you do.
It took a lot of bravery for you to leave the chamber,
It
right?
did.
'Cause,
I
I mean,
remember the conversation
you
too
were
in my office
masterful.
when I told Richard.
You were masterful at that role at the chamber. And then, I mean, I heard the news. I was like, Stephanie's going over to Rexa. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And what lessons from the chamber did you take to Rexa to help you do what you're doing today?
So many.
Okay.
So many. The leadership lessons that I learned, and this is what I loved about Richard, is you never felt it heavy, right? There were heavy things we were dealing with, but the tone that you had in the office never weighed anybody down. It made us all very passionate about coming and doing the work that we did,
Yeah.
right? That's a skill. That's a great leadership skill. And I try to do that. You were always open to new ideas and kind of having everyone give their opinions, and you'd really digest that, not always take them,
Yep.
but you'd give valid reasons why it may not be the best move forward. And I try to do that with my team, now. Um, the way you handle policy and working with elected officials, relationships are key. Everybody knows that, right? But you did it so well. You did it so well. And always picking up the phone, right? You can email, you can text, but you'd pick up the phone. You were just so personal. And I think that's why your relationships were so strong in the community. So that is important. I took that with me.
Is that what you're doing today? I mean, what you were at the chamber was like sort of the bridge gapper, right? Your job for Richard when you worked there and for the entire board was to go out there, find out, the status of these relationships, strengthen the relationships, and make sure they stay strong forever. Is that mostly what you do these
Yeah.
days there?
Yeah. So my job was to keep my finger on the pulse,
Yeah.
make sure Richard always knew about it, and then strategize. That was the other piece is I was part of the process of strategizing,
right.
right? It wasn't, Steph, this is what we're going to do, go communicate it forward. It was, let's talk this through. But yeah, it's the same thing. I just had a bigger portfolio, right? So I had energy and water and transportation. I mean, it was a
The
very
easy ones. The easy ones.
it was a really big portfolio. Over here, I'm focusing on an industry sector. Little did I know once I got into the industry that there's a lot of different areas within the industry that have their own challenges. But still, I just went from a really big portfolio, and now I'm able to focus on an industry.
Yeah. And now your predecessor was Martha Mangum, who I love very much. And you came in into an organization that was feared by all politicians, admired by the industry and all that. What are you doing different that your predecessor wasn't? And I'm not asking you for criticism. I'm just asking you, how has the organization evolved and anticipating that San Antonio was evolving, right? Or
Sure.
reacting to that.
Well, when I came on, nothing was broken, which was great, right?
Yes.
I was taking a fine oiled machine,
Right.
and they were very clear that my task was to elevate it.
Okay.
And they said, so we had a strategic plan done. That was one of the first orders of business. And one of the strategic decisions was to recruit newer, younger members because we have, our industry is still to this day male dominated,
Right.
a little on the older side. And so, how can we appeal to the next generation of industry leaders, get them involved in Rexa, passionate about serving, passionate about being at the table to talk about policy? And so that determined what kind of programming that we were now going to put out. We have a leadership development program. There were 2 females,
Hmm.
and I probably had maybe 4 people on my board. And now we have more females than men on the leadership. Our
Wow.
board is
Good.
probably split right down the middle. We created community projects for the younger, up and coming generation of industry leaders who are still not quite confident enough to feel like they can contribute on our
Yeah.
board or our committees. And so we have an initiative called Community Project where we pick a nonprofit from each of the districts. We're on their 3rd year doing it. And it all culminates to a big build day. And everybody comes out. We leverage our technical expertise.
Yeah.
We started in District 1. We did Sam Ministries. And then we went into District 2 last year at Twin Town Village. And Jalen McKee Rodriguez came out and planted some plants with us.
Good.
And then now this year, we're going to do SA Youth. We're going to build a mindfulness garden for them.
What?
So that's a way for our younger folks who are coming into the industry, like tiptoeing into Rexa, but if they feel like they're taking a leadership role in doing this. And it goes beyond stuffing backpacks and all of that is wonderful for
Yes.
the community. But here we can leverage our expertise. So we have arborists that donate their time in trees. We have, landscape architects who are doing the site plans pro bono. And then everyone comes out in a matter of 4 hours. You have about 80 volunteers planting, putting in trails, putting in picnic tables, playgrounds.
I know a former landscaper.
Right?
He's good with a shovel.
And he's a member of
That's
Rexa.
right.
Yeah.
So let's get you out there.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of members of Rexa, this is capitalism is important, so I need to stop right now and tell you guys that there is a sponsor for
Yeah.
today's show. Our sponsor is the Stormlex Law Group, a group of lawyers who are dedicated to helping property owners deal with their insurance companies when they don't want to pay for storm damage. And so stormlex.com, and they're members of your
Also a
chamber.
valued member.
That's right.
Thank you,
valued.
Stormlex.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Stormlex.
So
Awesome.
here's my question for you. You got kids.
I do.
You got kids.
Yep.
I got kids. My kid right now, 19 years old, says, Dad, I don't know what I want to do. Right. And then I tell him, that's okay. Right. That's okay. It's fine to not know what you want to do for college. But have you found that there's a college program out there that prepares them for what you do, right? For the industry that you're in, or for the industry that you're in? What advice would you give?
Ooh.
You want me to go first?
Yes, please.
So I can brag about some of our programs.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we give scholarships to the UTSA Real Estate and Finance Department.
Okay.
Amazing kids. We just awarded some scholarships, and we're part of the Founders Council, which is kind of a group of industry folks who contribute towards this fund for these scholarships. And so there's an annual meeting, and they brought some of the recent recipients. These kids, I say kids because they're like 20.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, they're up there so polished and knowledgeable. They've already done interns at 5 or 6 different firms. They're our future. They're amazing. So we give support there. And then we also have partnerships with A&M, San Antonio, and Alamo Colleges. And I'm so proud of what we're doing with Alamo Colleges now, because we would give them money for scholarships as well for their trades programs. And we recently did a tour, and we said, our dollars for sponsorship, is that enough for you guys? And they said, no, we'll keep taking your money. We love your money, but we really need instructors, apprenticeships, on-site, training, materials, tools. So we're creating a Founders Council for Alamo Colleges with industry folks who are going to contribute to that revolving fund. And first order of business is to audit their curriculum to make sure that it aligns with real world needs,
Great idea.
so that they've got a job as soon as they come out of there.
But my kid's 19. He'll forget every single word you just said. So answer this question: why real estate? Like, if I say, "Hey, mijo, you should really consider the real estate industry," what's the go-to answer?
Let me tell you. So right now, Alamo Colleges will give every senior who signs up to go into a trades program, welding and framing, all of those things, they'll pay 100% of your tuition.
Whoa.
100%. And then what? 15 to 17 months later, they've got a job and they're making $65,000 plus
Right.
a year. No school debt. No college. Do you have college debt? I still got college debt, right?
Yes.
No debt. Already working with a great salary.
By the way,
They're in the
I
industry.
recently rewrote my will, and I left all of my student loans to Richard. Should I pass away? Richard gets my student loans.
I can only do one.
But no, so it's great. So what we're trying to do is to do exactly what you said, is get folks like your son and let them know that they don't have to, they're not only successful if they go get a 4-year degree or a 6-year degree, they can be successful or even more successful if they get a trades certificate and get to work right away with no debt, making that money.
I mean, I know some plumbers and
Oh,
making
yeah.
$200,000-$300,000.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no
Very
joke.
lucrative. Very
Yeah.
lucrative. Well, and so the interesting thing is, when I was growing up, two great parents, but we never talked about college, right? College was never a part of our dinner table conversations, church, nothing.
Right.
And so it was something that I saw that I wanted to do, right? But I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to college, and I initially started off in a business track, and accounting didn't work out for me. Then I went into a geography track.
Right.
And then ultimately ended up in a city manager track. So I got a geography degree, but then I went on and got a master's degree in public administration with an emphasis in city management.
What'd
And
your
that's
parents
really-
say when you said, "Hey, I'm getting a geography degree"? What
They said, "Fantastic, mijo, we love it."
Really?
They really had no idea
You're
what
lucky.
that was.
Oh,
And
nice.
not that they were simple people, but I was going to school and that was enough, right?
Yeah.
And so when I changed from business to geography, it's like, oh, that's great. I mean, there just wasn't a big awareness of what that actually meant. So there was no pushback. It was just go on.
You're
and
lucky, man. My
I
parents.
got all
conquer.
pushback.
You did? Why?
I did. Well, because I'm from the Valley and I think it's a cultural thing, right? And I'm the firstborn and I'm female. And so I always wanted to be an Aggie. I just want to be an Aggie. Step foot on the campus during like a high school tour. And I said, this is it. I didn't care to visit any other colleges. I wanted to be an Aggie. So I applied, I got in, and my dad said, he laughed out loud.
Yeah.
He goes, absolutely not. You're coming to the local university. I don't know what you're talking about. And I remember framing my acceptance letter. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And I said, Dad, I'm going to A&M. He
Right.
said, over my dead body, you're going to A&M. And I said, well, then I'm going to step right over.
Right. Let's start planning the funeral. then.
That's right.
So I got 2 jobs, and he goes, well, you're going to do it without my support. And he didn't speak to, I love my dad. I love you, Dad, if you're listening. But he did not speak to me the entire summer after my graduation. We're living in the same house. And he walked by, he was so upset. And, he was a police officer for many years, just super overprotective dad.
Yeah.
And I got 2 jobs. I saved every penny. And the day before I'm leaving to A&M, he walks in and says, I guess you're serious. I'll drive you. And so he drove me, up there to College Station. And I get it now because I'm a parent. I get what the fear was,
Yeah.
and he's super supportive. But then the kicker was, I went for broadcast. I started my career in broadcasting. So when I switched, majors and then kept getting more, he always had that whole, well, you would have saved a lot of money if
I
you
gotta
would
tell you, I know we're sort of taking an off ramp here, but my story is very similar to yours.
Really?
Yeah. My parents said, you're going to medical school, you're going to medical school, you're going to be a doctor. And, I spent 2 years going the pre-med route and I hated every minute of it. I hated it. And on my 3rd year, I finally came home. I was like, Mom, Dad, I hate this. And I've decided I'm going to go pre-law, but I really like my sociology and my communications classes. And I might as well have told them, I'm going to shave my head and join a cult because they were furious. And my dad was, I will never pay for your and communications and sociology. You're going to be living at Haven for Hope. You're going to be homeless. And they were furious. My dad said, I will never pay for school. That's your route. You're going, you're on your own. And he kept his word, and he never paid for law school. It's fine. Right. And which is why you're going to end up paying my student loans.
I got it.
when I
Now
pass
I
away.
get it.
But my dad then saw I succeeded. And guess what he did? He told my brother and my sister, you 2 are going to law school. I'm paying for them. Like
You paved the way. You paved
yeah,
the way.
yeah, but I'm owed something, right?
I know.
That's right.
Hey, so we're talking about, talking to kids and the future and how to prep them. So what's exciting about what your members are doing, right? What's in the future for San Antonio, right? What has you waking up in the morning and saying, look, in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, this is what we're working on. This is why it's worth it.
Well, so our goal is really to get someone out of that UTSA real estate and finance program. We want them to graduate, get a job with a company that's a member of REXA, join REXA, serve on a committee, and hopefully serve in some public capacity, and it could start with, and we encourage this, serve on the PC TAC, right? Serve on
What's that? The PC TAC.
the planning commission, the planning technical. Oh my God. Why you the
Yeah.
planning commission technical advisory.
Right.
Yes. And so they need expertise, specific expertise. So we say this is an opportunity for you to serve on there, serve on SEAC, the ones that assess the impact fees at SAWS. There's so many opportunities, right? The rate advisories at SAWS and CPS. Just serve. And maybe one day city council.
Yeah.
And we've got some examples of those folks, of graduates from the program who are now either chairing the real estate council or have served on any of those that I just listed. That's what we want, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting smart, business-minded people who are passionate about the industry to serve in these capacities.
That practical experience is so important when the decision making comes because they understand the impact. So it's not just words on a paper, but this is how this rule, this is how this impact fee, this is how this policy is going to affect the ultimate cost of a new house or of a new building or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
I think it makes a ton of sense.
That's what I love about working for REXA that's slightly different than the chamber.
Okay.
Is, we are about quality, not quantity. So I don't care. Right now we have 287 companies. If that's what we have forever, that's okay because I have great quality members and we pride ourselves on being technical experts. So when, Councilman Pelaez calls and says, hey, I have this great policy idea. Can you get a room full of your technical experts and tell me what the financial implications might be? So that's what I do. I call on my engineer, I call a builder, I call a developer, I call a lender, and we all get in a room and we kind of hash it out and we help form or create policy that makes sense
Mhm.
and is affordable, right? This is a collaborative effort. And I think that's what people don't necessarily understand about what we do at the Real Estate Council. We're an advocacy organization, but because we could be a primary resource to policymakers.
Right.
We have that expertise. Use it.
So how is the work Stephanie doing today directly impacting what you're doing?
Well, I think it makes my job easier because you've done the hard work of making sure that policies that are going to be now the rules that govern development are some that are reasonable, or some that are cost effective, or at least minimizes the cost. Because as you know, Steph, development is not inexpensive. In fact, it is very expensive. Having to put in the infrastructure and then having to construct whatever it is you're going to construct, traffic impact analysis to make sure that what that impact is going to be on the larger community so that you can help mitigate it. Those are real costs, and those have to go into the development of a project that ultimately at the end of the day is going to tell you how much that project is going to cost. And so your ability to come in on the front end, help shape those policies, make it easier for elected officials and for administrators like myself so that we can be pushing projects that make sense, are cost effective, and that enhance people's quality of life.
So over the years, not just with regard to the work you do, over the years, council work and chamber work, do you have a special like deal, like a special real estate project that lives in your heart as like the most amazing one I've ever seen or the one I admire the most?
Well, the one that I can remember really well, like, I was a new council member, newly minted, was the JW Marriott Hill Country Resort and Spa. Remember,
Yeah.
they were putting it over the aquifer, and it was doom and gloom. It was going to be the worst thing in the world. And I actually went to Sawgrass, which is where one of the PGA golf places.
Wait, where's that?
It's in North Carolina, I
You
think.
went to North Carolina to go see an example of what it could be?
That's right. Because
Okay.
because they kept saying this is going to be, you know, environmentally friendly. I mean, it's going to be top of the line over the aquifer, and it will be no effect. It's going to not hurt the aquifer one little tiny bit. I didn't believe them, of course. I came in very skeptical. I went on my own dime and took a tour, and sure enough, I got convinced that it's the real deal. These guys care. They want a quality product, not only for their own brand, the PGA, but because of the environment that they live in. They are residents of those communities too, where they put these facilities in. And we took so much flack from community groups that said, no, 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 it's
I
the worst
remember
thing in
that.
the
Yeah.
world. And I mean, literally hundreds of people at council speaking against in one night. And again, those meetings would go into midnight sometimes. And there was just this fear that we're going to, vote you off the council during your next thing, your next,
Over
election
a
cycle.
hotel golf course deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it was two big giant golf courses and a hotel,
Yeah.
a first class hotel, but over the aquifer. And so the way they built the golf courses in particular had liners and clay and leachate collection system. I mean, top of the line quality, innovative, and I ultimately voted for it. And that place today, um,
It's phenomenal.
it's phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's incredible, and employs hundreds of people, probably close to thousands, but receives thousands of tourists to this community every single year. And it's an economic generator. And people work there, and they have all kinds of
Yeah.
jobs, from the general manager down to the custodian. But all of them are important, and all of them make a difference. And
Yeah,
so
and that's the
that's a
point,
big
right?
one.
Real estate has a direct impact on people's quality of life, right?
That's right.
You got a favorite deal, a favorite real estate project?
There's so many.
You got to pick one. Who's your favorite baby?
I love what's happening at the Pearl.
Okay.
I do. I just had lunch with Ed Kelly.
Mhm.
Have you guys ever met Ed
Oh,
Kelly?
he's such a
Ed
cool
Kelly's
guy.
the former chairman of the board of the chamber.
Yes.
I know him well.
He is.
Every day he
And
remembers,
he's on my board.
every day he forgets something about real estate is sort of like a lifetime what I know about real estate. That guy is just a walking, talking
He
encyclopedia
is,
of real
and he's
estate.
so passionate. And he gave, told us the whole story about La Cantera and how they got
Ah.
Six Flags and all of that. It was fascinating. But the Pearl, and I love what's happening at the Pearl, especially all the new housing developments, but also Lower Broadway, right? The Pearl was catalyst for all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So I love going out there. I always see it's just such a vibrant place. It's always packed. Everyone's enjoying themselves. There's something for every age. And then the creamery again, all because of the Pearl. That was a cat. I just love that area.
Mine. And then Stephanie's going to do her rapid fire questions.
Okay.
My favorite one is the Woodlands. I know most we've been focusing on San Antonio, but if you think about the Woodlands, the developers over there, I got to meet with them many years ago. They said, look, what we wanted to create a city in the woods, right? A city in a forest, and we wanted to create a forest in a city.
Hmm.
And they did it, Richard. You go there
Yeah,
and
right.
you don't know if you're in a city or in a forest at the same time. And these guys respected the trees. They respected, the quality of life, the air, the shade, right? And uh, rarely do you come up and see, go to any city and see something as bold and as
Mm.
dear. And if you tried that here in San Antonio today, first of all, we don't have a forest, but
Yeah.
but this idea of using shade and trees as infrastructure and as an amenity and baking that into your plan. It was one of the boldest projects I've ever seen. Okay, you got fired. Was it quick fire questions?
I
from
do.
us?
And these
All
are
right.
fun. Richard, you ready?
Okay. All right.
Okay. So
screw it up,
time for a
Ricardo.
lightning round. One word or short phrase answers.
Okay.
Okay. San Antonio's best kept secret.
I think the pearl. I think the
Why?
pearl's a
Wait,
good one.
wait. What?
I
You
think the
mean
pearl.
everybody knows the pearl? What's the secret there?
Well, I think the secret is that it is really something special that you don't really expect when you
Yeah,
go, right?
yeah.
And when people come, we still take them downtown, but we take them to the Pearl now. When we have visitors, we take them to the
Yeah.
Pearl.
Yeah.
You have to.
It's awesome.
For me, at the Pearl, it's the smell. Right? Like if you go to Hotel Emma, we notice they
Yes.
get this weird perfume smell. And I just discovered best kept secret. They bottle it and they sell it in the
Yeah.
gift shop now.
Oh,
Yeah, they
you
do.
did?
It's
I didn't know
awesome.
that.
It's great. You got to buy it. Yeah.
They do. I have it and I put it out for fancy guests, meaning my in laws, right? Got to impress.
That's right.
Okay. One thing San Antonio absolutely needs in the next 10 years.
I'll let you go first.
Optimism.
Okay.
Optimism.
That's
You
a
know,
good one.
I mean,
That's a good one.
suffering through was it the baseball deal and the Project Marvel deal and what to do about the East Side. All I keep hearing is people saying like, we don't deserve nice things. It's we're too poor and there's not too many injustices and too much homelessness and too much poverty. And I was like, yeah, I get it, but my goodness, it's like, how about we say there's problems we need to fix, and also we're awesome and we deserve amazing things. A little optimism wouldn't kill us. In fact, it just might actually help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you think?
Well, so I'm going to go a little bit different way. I would say a new replacement hospital for the Audie Murphy VA hospital. It is old. It is decrepit. It is not modern. And so there are plans right now to build a new one on property that the Medical Foundation owns, and it would enhance the quality of life for veterans in this community. And by the way, we're the fastest growing veteran system in the VA system. We get 1,000 new entrants into the system every single month. And it's needed, woefully needed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm playing this game, but I'm
Okay.
going to answer.
What's yours?
Because we need a significant investment in infrastructure for all of the future growth.
No
You're
doubt.
right.
No doubt.
We do. The
Infrastructure's
community
key.
needs to come together, and I know it's going to be costly at first glance, but it's necessary.
Mm.
It's necessary for development. It's necessary for traffic congestion. Everything. We
Mm.
need an investment in
Yeah.
infrastructure, a
You're right.
significant one.
No doubt. No doubt.
Okay, a project you wish you had been a part of anywhere.
Been a part of anywhere.
I got one.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You remember the ghost tracks on the South
I
Side?
do.
You used to drive your car there, and then the little kids, they'd push your cars. Some knucklehead thought it was a good idea just to do away with that and fix that train track intersection and flatten the street. So there's no more ghost tracks, right? Like you actually can't do it anymore.
Oh,
My goodness, I was like, talk about just erasing a unique little strand of San Antonio DNA there, right? Come on, you can't preserve the ghost tracks.
But you know what's funny is we had that in Brownsville too.
Yeah.
We had that.
So-
You could put like baby powder and then you feel their
Yeah.
see
So,
their
so to answer your question, the project I wish I was a part of was the planning project, so that I could just say, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing it, right? You're going to leave
We
it
need
alone.
those babies.
well, I would say the one that it's happening is Arbor San Antonio. The what is that called? The one that
The Arboretum.
The Arboretum. There you go. The Arboretum. That I think is going to really enhance. You talk about a forest.
Yeah.
They're going to create a forest. And to me, I think, as a landscaping background, having, my family owns a tree farm. It's incredible. That is going to be key.
You? What project do you wish you'd been a part of?
That's a tough one. I've been here 10 years. That's a really hard one. I think anything downtown,
Yeah.
I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Are you a part of it now?
I mean, to the extent of the job. And Project Marvel, we keep calling it Project Marvel, and Laura Houston is going to be texting me, stop.
Stop calling it.
I think it'll always be called Project Marvel, right?
Mhm.
Whether we want it to or not. But something like that, Hemisphere Park redevelopment, I love all of that. All of these luxury hotel concepts, the Kimpton, the Intercontinental, all of that stuff, the baseball, all of that excites me. It all excites me because as an outsider, this is where we would come to vacation, and I'd bring my kids, and I have pictures of my kids in the same spot year after year and see them grow. I love downtown.
really
Very passionate about downtown.
Hey, by the way, speaking of project, for anybody out there who's listening, who's actually branding these economic development projects, right? Project Starbright, Project Booster, whatever they are, right? Like the ones that are going to be controversial, name them something to where it's hard to be against it. Like name it like Project Cute Puppies, right?
There you go.
Right? Like Project Baby Rabbits, right? I mean, who's against that?
Who gets to decide?
I've always wondered. So Jenna and her team would decide on some of the names of the economic development projects, but sometimes it's just like the designing consultant that you hire, and they just put a name on it, and then it's just adopted. But not much thought goes into the naming of these things, and more than anything, it's just to sort of keep them secret for a while,
Sure.
right? So that you look at it and you're like, Project Marvel, what is that, right? But I mean, am I wrong? I mean,
No, you're
I mean, would it kill you to name like something like Project Big Red and a Fruit Cup, right? Project Fruit Cup, right?
That's right.
All right, last one.
Okay, best guess as to where Eric Walsh hid the Travis Park Confederate statue.
Remember that caused a lot of drama. That was my first day on council. So where did he hide it?
I think he hid it on a piece of property that the medical foundation owns. It's wooded, so no one will ever find it.
Where do you think he hid it, Stephanie?
Martha Mangum's garage, of course.
There you go.
I have it on good authority from Walter Cerna that he melted down the statue and that it is now being used as fiesta medals. So everybody's got a little bit of the Confederate statue. Hey, folks, we're gonna wrap it up. This has been a great conversation. I could do this every day, all day with you guys. I love hanging out with you.
Fantastic.
So as we're closing out, I want to give you guys a heartfelt thanks. I love you both very much for who you are and what you do and all the people that you've helped and for your hearts and for your dedication to San Antonio. But I do want to end it on something kind of fun, and I've decided to deviate from this.
Okay.
All right. One time, Richard showed up to the San Antonio River Center Comedy Club and was on stage doing improv with a group called the Oxymorons. And I was there and I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Told some jokes?
No. I was the butt of jokes.
He was. What happened?
But let me tell you the reason. So I like to go. Judy and I, my wife, we go to comedy clubs and all that sort of thing. And we happened to go to the River Center, and who was actually a comedian, Manny
This guy?
Pelaez, and he called me up on
Oh,
stage.
no.
So that was my 2 seconds of fame. But I couldn't believe I was bowled over when I saw him up there, and he was killing it, boy.
Yeah.
Richard
So it's
Perez
therapy,
up
right?
there.
Like you actually can say things
Yeah.
in that environment that would otherwise get you arrested
Oh
or
my
canceled,
God, for sure.
right?
It was so much fun that night.
It was so much fun. And so we
Great.
called Richard up as an audience participation kind of thing. And the game was, I remember it vividly, the game was that we would pick a play, right? So there was 4 or 5 books
Oh,
that
yeah.
were actual play scripts, right? And we would call up an audience member and say, open the book to any random page, and you are going to read one of the parts, and I will act the other part,
That's right.
but without the benefit of a script, right? So Richard had the script and he would read the part, and then I would act out, not knowing what the heck Richard was going to say next. And it was the worst comedy ever. It was so unfunny, except he and I were the only ones having a great time
We
with
had
it.
them all. It was great. It was great.
Yeah, and there was a moment where it was clear to me towards the end that Richard and I, for that book, it was a man and a woman, and I think I was the woman and he was the man, and we were like breaking up or something in the scene. And there was a moment where I was speaking too much, and Richard had to push me, right? And he's reading like this, and he takes his hand and he puts his finger on my lips, and he goes, "Shush." Like that. That was his line.
It
Hey
was so
guys,
much fun.
Guayabera Conversations is the name of the show. How do people reach Richard? How do they learn about the medical foundation and all the data and all the good things you guys are doing?
Well, we have a great website, sanantoniomedicalfoundation.org. We've got these huge, important economic impact studies. In fact, we just completed one this month, which we'll start to push out, and we're going to go meet with the mayor and members of the city council to tell them about the story of the economic impact of the South Texas Medical Center, and it's incredible. 96,000 jobs plus. $18 billion economic impact.
It's the highest paying jobs in all of San Antonio.
That's right.
Too.
That's exactly right. And so anyway, a lot of information there. But before we go, Manny, congratulations. 8 years of amazing, honorable service in the city council.
man.
Congratulations. We salute you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
How do we learn about REXA?
Come to recsanantonio.com. We
Okay.
do have economic impact studies on our site. You can look at 50.4 economic impact. That's our industry impact to San Antonio. Billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. We often tout military and hospitality and the medical. We're right up there.
It's also jobs.
We're right.
You guys are the
Construction jobs are good paying jobs. So you can check out some of that stuff. We also have social media. Catch us on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the fun stuff. But yes, come and visit our site.
Thanks, guys. Nice seeing you. That's the end of Guayabera Conversations.
Yeah.
See you the next time.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks, Steph.
If you like the show, and if you want to be a part of these conversations as a sponsor, give us a call, write to us. We're always looking for partners and people who want to advance a conversation about authenticity.